Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Majority Show, coming at you live every Wednesday from Majority Towers here in central Scotland. I'm Mark Devlin. I'm the host of the show. It's going out to you on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, also known as X. I'm here tonight with my co-hosts, David Griffiths and Mary Devlin. And I'm on the wrong page. All right. How are you doing today, David?
Well, I would say I'm weary from ripping up carpets, mopping up paint spillages, and arguing with reform converts, many of whom seem terribly, terribly angry with me. What a shame.
Well,
Anyway,
yes.
otherwise I'm just fine.
But those are the reform people are not help tearing up the carpets as well, are they?
Sadly, no. No, it might put it might be better use of their time than arguing with me, but no, they're not. Sadly, no. Never mind.
Right. Okay. Now, and what are you going to be talking about tonight?
Well, tonight I thought I would look at the SNP's former MPs who lost their seats in last year's general election and are now, of course, trying to sneak into Holyrood at the first chance.
Well, of course, that's the case. Okay. And Mary, how are you tonight?
I'm very well, thank you. And it feels like spring might be in the air.
Well, perhaps it may well be. How are you going to be? What are you going to be talking about tonight?
Well, tonight I'm going to be talking about how Glasgow's ill-conceived drug consumption room is a blight on locals.
Oh, that is very true. And of course, we'll all be talking about various ferry disasters and Nicola Sturgeon's book, which was announced today, or the launch of that, which was announced today.
And of course, we will have a Zoomer of the Week.
Right, so we'll be back with all that and much more in just a moment. Right, welcome back to the Majority Show, Scotland's #1 politics and chat from an anti-nationalist perspective. I'm Mark Devlin, host of the show, here tonight with co-hosts David Griffiths and Mary Devlin. Our aim at the Majority is a better, thriving Scotland without the toxic nationalism that has been strangling Scotland's potential. Huge thanks to our friends at United Against Separation Facebook page, where many of you are watching from tonight.
And remember, sharing is caring. So the #1 thing you can do is to like the show on YouTube. Even if you don't subscribe, please drop a like. And if you can subscribe, please do so. It all helps to increase the reach of the show at the click of a button.
And as usual, I will be managing the relentless flow of comments, so please keep them short and snappy, and I'll try to put as many on screen as I can.
Right, very good. All right, so basically, let's just get going. Ferry fails. Big ferry news this week. First of all, the ill-fated Glen Sannox, which was just launched in January, had to be brought in for repairs to fix a crack that had appeared in the ship's hull. Where we got, let's have a picture of that. Let's see. Okay, that's it there. As we all know, so much for nationalist quality control, if there is such a thing, such a concept. As we all know, the ferry, which was built by the nationalised Ferguson Marine Shipyard, alongside another one that's still yet to sail, cost £400 million, 4 times the original £97 million contract price. So let's have a look back at that fateful day when it was Nicola Sturgeon launched the.
Well, this is a really significant day and a really special occasion. Ship launches are always emotional occasions, but to have the return of commercial shipbuilding here on the Clyde at Ferguson's is extra special. And this vessel will serve local island communities in Scotland. It's also good for the environment. It's a low carbon vessel, the first dual fuel vessel anywhere in the UK, and together with its sister ship also being constructed here will help secure employment at this really important shipyard.
Right.
Or maybe not.
Maybe not. That was back in 2017, as I mentioned. It just went into service in January 2025, 7 years after it was launched. That's quite a big difference. Now, CalMac said in a statement on Friday, the MV Glen Sannox has been removed from service due to a crack on a weld seam on the vessel's hull, which is close to the waterline. They denied that the ferry had hit the dock, but did admit that some water had got into the hull. Now, I think the newspapers made it missed a huge opportunity to call this issue Sturgeon's crack. This is what it should do. So we're just going to go with that for a few seconds. And if you're of a nervous disposition, you should maybe cover your ears. So divers were sent down to see if Sturgeon's crack could be repaired, and they probed and poked it for a while and came back and said it was best if it was permanently welded shut. There was a huge sigh of relief. If Sturgeon's crack had continued to stay open, who knows what might have happened. David.
Oh boy, my goodness me. Now there's an image, right? So, well, to be honest, guys, I wasn't remotely surprised when I heard there was damage. I've mentioned this before, I'm sure, on the show. When I stood for election in 2021 in West Scotland, of course, the region which includes Port Glasgow, which is where Ferguson is based, a constituent who was a shipyard worker contacted me to say he was very concerned. He said that Ferguson's recruitment policy was absolutely bizarre. They were offering jobs at literally half the market rate. And this is a market rate which was readily available to shipyard workers only just further up the Clyde, building Ministry of Defence warships. And he said, they will never fill these roles, not a chance. Nobody will take these jobs. I don't understand what they're doing. The next thing we heard was that Ferguson's had imported cheap labour from Romania, that famous seafaring nation, Romania, unskilled, inexperienced, completely unable to do the job, was the view of this constituent. And that was 4 years ago. And given what's happened since, I'd say he was absolutely right. So I'm not remotely surprised. I'm surprised the thing didn't sink the first time it went into the water, to be honest with you.
Yes, it's just an ongoing disaster, isn't it? Really, we've just seen this idea that, this is part of the problem. Of course, if the shipyard hadn't been nationalised, it had remained private, then it wouldn't be news. Right? It's because it's politicised entirely that everything that happens on the ship is a bit of a disaster. Now, in other ferry news, the nationalised Ferguson Marine Shipyard failed to get a £175 million order for 7 small electric ferries for use in Scotland's short island routes. The beleaguered shipyard made it into the shortlist of 6 companies. However, the Scottish government-owned Seamile said that it gave the award to a Polish firm. I can't even say this. Remontoa. Is that how you say it? I don't know. Anyway, they apparently
speak Polish. We don't speak Polish.
Oh, okay. But apparently that represented the best value for the public purse. Now, Remontoa had previously built the Kalmac ferries, the MV Argyll, MV Bute, MV Finlagan, and was runner-up, actually, went to Ferguson's when the contracts for the Glen Sannox and Glen Rosa were awarded in 2015. And perhaps if we had used those Polish shipyard at the time, then it wouldn't have cost 4 times the contract price and taken 7 years to make. Now, libertarian part of my brain says, of course, we should give the contract to the lowest bidder, assuming quality and timelines are guaranteed. But then it also says, why is the Scottish government paying for this yard when it won't even give it contracts? Seems to be a double fail. Taxpayers are paying for a shipyard that can't even win contracts from taxpayers. So remember, all this money was supposed to be used to save 300 jobs, as David mentioned a little bit about it earlier there. So far, it appears that even just for the Glen Sannox, it's cost £1 million per job. Is that good value, David? Or do you think the yard should be shut down?
Well, I mean, as Alan Jack just said, not only did they employ their own people, they actually went into production before they had an agreed blueprint. So the blueprint machine, I mean, how do you build a ship without an agreed design? I mean, how can that ever work? But they did. I think the end result is pretty much indicative of that approach. Well, this is the classic struggling business cycle, isn't it? A company obviously needs orders to stay viable, and due to political influence, helpfully it lands an order it really shouldn't have got because we know they weren't the cheapest bid. Fallouts then ensued between management and government, particularly as there was a very strong owner of the business who wasn't going to be told what to do by, Keith Brown or Hamza Yousaf or any of those fools. And so everything went wrong. The yard almost went under, and in desperation, as a last throw of the dice, the company is nationalised simply to avoid the accusation and the political embarrassment of a known company, an iconic employer, going bust on the SNP government's watch. So now what's happening? It's limping along, missing orders it should be getting. So I'd struggle, frankly, I'm sorry to say it, I struggle to see a future for Ferguson's, unless, as looks like it's happening with Rangers Football Club, right now. Somebody with a lot of money steps in, tears it all apart just to build it all up again. But why would anyone bother?
Why would anyone do
It's
that?
not going to happen.
You know, I don't know any Rangers, but I mean, why would anyone come in and do that?
That's the problem. So no, I'd say the future, I'm sad to say, is very gloomy for Ferguson's, but that's what happens if you can't compete on price and you can't do the job on time. That's what's going to happen, guys.
Well, the whole tendering process was corrupt right from the beginning.
Well, that's true.
And that's what happens when you go outside the process, which is supposed to ascertain which company would be the best company to build it, but they forwent that and decided it was going to be Ferguson Marine.
In this case, they have said that they have really followed the procurement process, especially some kind of UK procurement rules, and that's why they chose this Polish yard. I mean, I think for commercial shipbuilding, it seems like that's, of course, you want to have, as I said, the lowest cost with guarantees on quality and timeline, and whether Ferguson's could do that. Now, Ferguson's did say that they had actually quite a good result for the quality of the proposal, but the price was not good enough, and they complained that maybe foreign manufacturers can make things cheaper than us in the UK. But surely if the price isn't going to be that much different, then it shouldn't be an issue, perhaps. And it just seems like they haven't been able to do very well. Now, it's a thing, though, they have to be thinking here that it's not as though ships aren't being made in Scotland.
That's right.
The UK government, if you can remember them, has commissioned multiple warships and currently has HMS Glasgow, HMS Belfast, HMS Cardiff, HMS Birmingham, all currently being built at the BAE Systems in Govan. And I'll show you. Let's see. This is a wee chart that was just given to me before the show. It shows these are all the Scottish shipbuilding, 2014 to 2035. So you see, it's quite a lot in there. And we have this contact to UK Defence, what's it called, Monitor. Also said something quite interesting, that Ferguson's actually been kept alive by subcontracting work on the Type 26 frigates. So who is actually supporting shipbuilding on the Clyde? The UK government. How ironic, David.
Exactly right. And doesn't it just reinforce how lucky it is for the workers in the other Clyde shipyards that Scotland remains proudly part of the UK, picking up orders from the Westminster government as part of our defence strategy? So let's be honest, these people are in jobs with viable futures because we are still in the UK. If we weren't, they wouldn't be getting these jobs. So, I would say, doesn't that just reinforce everything we're saying? If you're going to be in an independent Scotland, nothing will get built and jobs will just go to the wall because the people running the place are just simply not competent in any facet. So thank goodness we are where we are.
Here's an interesting point from Andrew White. He says, I think the Polish yard got it to keep them sweet. Remember, a Polish yard is trying to sue the Scottish government because they lost out on the two ferries.
So it must be the same one because it said that's what I said there. Yes. So perhaps that's a factor as well. That's very interesting. Okay, we'll have to follow up a little bit more on that.
Indeed.
But Ferguson Marine are going to be finished after this, right?
Well, I hate to say it, but it doesn't look very good for them, does it, really? You can't see really how they're going to get on from here at all. Oh, it's a shame, but what can you do? You've got to be able to compete.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. And I think this whole thing comes down to this idea, we'll save this shipyard to show that an independent Scotland can do really well. I mean, and this shows exactly how poorly it would actually do as well. So, will the new ships be all electric? Yes, they are going to be they're not all electric, with diesel backup, and they have to upgrade the grid to make it work. I don't know if they have a giant big plug. Well, I imagine they do, right? They plug it in, you get to one side for 15 minutes, and then the other side. They're just very short haul.
Maybe it's a big extension lead they've got plugged in.
Yeah, it goes to Aaron and pull it back.
Yes, indeed. Right, okay, now, we're going to be back with much more serious matters in a few seconds, and we're going to talk about Sturgeon's memoir. So we'll see you in a moment. But first, we would like your donations for the Majority Truth Bot. We're trying to make this automated system called TruthBot, which will counter nationalist misinformation live, primarily on Twitter and X. If you go to this URL, which is actually not quite correct, but anyway, that will do. You can put a donation in there, a monthly donation. Now, what the issue is we've already built the bot and we've tested it, but we need to put it into production. And to do that, we need £200 a month. It just goes straight to Twitter. Basically, it doesn't go to us, anything like that. And what it does is then it lets people call the bot to tell truth. If a nationalist is telling lies, we can just call the bot and it will say, no, you're talking rubbish about the claim of right. You're talking nonsense about jails and blah, 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 and go like that.
So basically, it just saves us having to write out the same responses over and over again.
Yeah. Bored of all this nonsense, really.
We've been writing them for years.
We know what the truth is. The nationalists don't, but we need to keep hitting them with the truth. Anyway, £200 a month is 40 people pledging a £5 a month. That could be you. You could be pledging a £5 a month. And not only that, if you pledge some money to this, you'll get a free Majority T-shirt, just like this one, or any other one from the shop. In fact, I'll put the shop up. You can have any one of these T-shirts here, or even a mouse mat, whatever you like, from there. Because once you've donated £20 worth of donations, then we will send you a T-shirt. I think that's a pretty good deal, actually. Get a nice T-shirt and promote truth on the internet. So if you please, you can donate going to the website. You can put in super thanks or so on. It's best to go to the website, to be honest, because you need to pledge to do the monthly amount, and everything is most appreciated, big or small. Right, okay. That's that bit done. Nicola Sturgeon's long-awaited memoir finally has a release date.
I haven't been able to sleep waiting.
Unlike the branch form investigation, which doesn't have a release, an ending date. Anyway, promo for the Waterstones. Let me get onto this. Where are we? Yes, okay. Promo from Waterstones bookshops says, from a shy childhood in working class Ayrshire to wielding power in the corridors of Holyrood, Scotland's longest serving First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, shares her incredible story in Frankly, coming this August.
Frankly.
What about dishonestly?
That's it there. As this person says, Johnny, I'll just read this out in this incredible story of achieving F all, apart from destroying Scotland and women's rights.
Yeah, quite.
And so on. Many, many, many negative comments here. Campaign leader pioneer. No, we don't think so. Anyway, but let's have a little bit more about this. She says, I have poured my heart into this book and can't wait for you to read it, which kind of begs the question, what heart? Sturgeon has claimed that this will be an honest book, saying, no, that's what she said.
That'll make a change.
She's saying it was honest.
Right.
But has anyone known a politician who has lied more, has divided more, and failed more? That is, frankly, a lie. Then there is the cover image, which is more than a little flattering to the subject. Yes. There, and that's probably a few days work in Photoshop to get rid of the double chins there, which so basically that's also frankly not very honest. Oh, you see, that's my version I made of it there. You can see I changed the title a little bit. And what else have we got here? It seems that the title is a play on Jenny Godley catchphrase, Frank, get the door, which I never understood anyway.
No.
What's funny about that, or why anyone involved the recently deceased racist, ableist, anti-traveller, anti-common decency and wildly unfunny Godley to be part of anything. That's frankly stupid. I'll just show, before we go on to David, I'll just show, remember, I don't know if many of you will remember the covers that we made some time ago. Here, a big boy did it and ran away. It seems more appropriate. Let's go. How to blame the English, Alex Salmond, Boris Johnson, Tories, Jim McCall, Derek Mackay, the media, and anyone else for absolutely everything. Or what about It Wasn't Me?
Yeah, quite.
That's a sensational follow-up. Or even more, These Things Happen, the shame-free sequel to A Big Boy Did It and Ran Away and It Wasn't Me. How to deflect racism, scandals, incompetence, failed targets, care home deaths, drug deaths, and much more with just a shrug.
Yeah, quite.
As seen on TV every day for a year now. David, are you going to be down at Waterstones in the morning of August the 14th, ready to snap up a copy?
Well, naturally, because that's my birthday, so I'll be hoping that she's going to
That
be
is indeed.
Indeed, so I'm very much hoping she'll be in a nearby store so I can get a signed copy. So I'll just say, yeah, just make it out to Mystic DG, will you please, Nicola? Thanks.
Right, yeah.
I'll just say, I knew you were going to be here. Something told me, and here you were. Yeah, but no, my big question is, how am I going to find it? What section will it be in? Will it be in politics or fiction or true crime? Maybe could it be in the LGBT section? Who knows? We'll see.
Fantasy.
Indeed,
The fantasy section.
Right. So I'm just wondering, how many times will we see the words, I'm sorry, I don't recall, in the book? You know, I would imagine that's her favourite phrase when she's asked anything. But in reality, no, I would certainly not be making a purchase on release date. I will just wait until it's in the bargain basement section for 75p, which should be about Halloween. So I'll wait until then.
Well, Mark and I were going to get you as a surprise for your birthday, but you know.
Oh, that's well, yeah. Get a dog-eared copy that someone else has read first of all. The problem is it'll be filling up the charity shops every time we go to a charity shop, you know, which is often. And then look, first thing I go to the books, then it'll be her mug, you know, staring out at me. That's no good. That is, I know, it really is terrible. Now, a reminder that according to reports, Sturgeon was paid an astonishing £300,000 as an advance for the book by Pan Macmillan. I wonder if they have any accountants in that company, because you'd have to sell 30,000 copies at £10 each just to make up the advance. And that's never mind the production costs, which are most likely to at least double that.
Yeah.
And the money that goes to Waterstones and the bookshops.
I mean, just the whole thing.
So
right? For a book that will be in the bargain bucket in weeks, as we all know, and the best bits will all be in the newspapers. Anyway, frankly.
I wonder if it'll talk about her criminal career, you know, if there's any insights into, you know, the camper van or
Chapter 10, how to drive
Amazon
how
orders.
To use a camper van as a getaway vehicle.
Enough room for for the Amazon orders that they had.
Right, yeah, exactly. All
the pots and pans and everything else
and stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Under investigation.
Yes. How to spend £600,000 on pens. That's another one as well. Of course, this financial disaster that Pan Macmillan the Sturgeon has inflicted upon Pan Macmillan is not the first financial disaster that Sturgeon has been involved in. But it says here, frankly, my dear, we don't give a damn. Get back to the hole you crawled out of and gaze all peace. And there is a slight bonus. A book in the baby box.
Here's a cut. Maybe half of it will be redacted.
Half of it will be blank pages and half of it will be redacted. Anyway, a slight bonus though. When I was reading articles about this, said John Swinney said today he had no plans to write his own tell-all book as he was focused on his job running the Scottish government. It's like, what is he, a comedian now? I mean, can you imagine John Swinney's memoir, David?
It would be, I will take no lectures from Russell Finlay. That will feature highlight. And also, I'm a supporter of the law. And also, the guidance is very clear. And if I can just refer you to subsection 10 of the 2008 blah, blah, whatever act. And I still back the Gender Reform Recognition Reform Bill. And I will lead Scotland to independence this time next year, Rodney. So, I mean, it's just, can you imagine? What a riveting read that would be. So, no,
please don't snore.
I think
how to get to sleep in 2 minutes.
Yeah, quite.
A roll of wood chip wallpaper would be more interesting to read. Indeed. Now, okay. Do you think anyone's really going to buy it, David?
People will buy Sturgeons. Yeah, they will. They will, in truth. I suspect she's probably going to come out with something about her personal life, and I think that will be the big hook, because nobody really is interested in what she's going to say about how she won 8 elections and as soon as she left they stopped winning. That's not really interesting.
Well, I don't know if people really want to read, Kissy Kissy with Peter Murrow.
Maybe, well, who knows? We're playing with conjecture. We don't know what's going to happen with Branchform by then, but it could be that it coincides, for example, with Morrell being actually on a charge and the court case. It could be something like that, and then she might say, "Oh, it was a nightmare. Honestly, I have no idea what it was like living with that man." It might be something like that. Who knows? But we're all guessing.
Maybe they've timed it.
Well, they're still living together.
Which
is very weird. But I mean, they've always just been living together.
That's true. Yeah, indeed.
Right. Okay. Thank you for all your comments that are coming in. It's great to see them as well. Maybe Val wrote it. I don't know. Nicola said that she has written it, and that she's excited to show what it is. And but the thing is, this is a test now. She's always talking about how great a bookworm she is.
Yes.
But serialised Nabino, perhaps, Catherine, indeed. I think maybe that's too upmarket for it, really, to be honest. Serialising the National.
Yeah. Nobody reads that. So.
Anyway. Right, okay. So we're going to go back in a few seconds where David is going to be talking about the Westminster SNP rejects, of which there are many. Yeah, what really happened to the iron? I mean, this is good. Keep it coming in. I've got to find the button though. Okay, right. Back in a second. Right, David, you're up.
Okay. So today I thought I would look at the the SNP Westminster rejects, who are apparently completely unable to take a very strong hint from the Scottish electorate. I am talking, of course, about 18 former SNP MPs who lost their seats in Westminster just last year, not even a year ago, 9 months ago or 8 months, whatever. Anyway, undeterred, they have submitted applications to become Holyrood MSPs in next year's Scottish election. So here's the list. So are you ready for the stellar collection of sheer
Can't wait.
Okay.
Are you ready? We've got Hannah Bardell. We've got Stephen Bonner, the guy who made that sign that was supposed to look like IRA.
That's ridiculous.
Yep, I know. Deirdre Brock, Alan Brown from Carmarthen, Amy Callaghan from Eastern Berkshire, Martin Day, Alan Doran's the guy who I often see shuffling into the Wetherspoons in Ayr. Patricia Gibson, who was my MSP. Callum Kerr, you won't probably remember him. He lost his seat in 2017, but he's back. David, I've been very, very clear. It's our pound Andrew Linden. Stuart McDonald, not Stuart McDonald, the Tenerife holiday rep, the other Stuart McDonald with the grey hair.
There's two of them.
Yep. Okay. Anne McLaughlin, Kirsten Oswald, Decapitate Turfs Kirsten, and I'm really pleased to see Annam Kaiser on the list. I wonder how she secured the nomination. Amazing, isn't it, really? Anyway, what's a young girl to do? Wee Tommy Shepherd is back. Obviously couldn't make anybody laugh unless he stands for election. Alison, Tiny Tears Thewlis, remember her at the election when she lost, and Richard Thompson in Gordon. In addition, 3 SNP special advisors have submitted applications to stand. Marco Biaggi, you'll have heard of him, ex-advisor to Hamza Youssef, Jack Middleton, and of course, Olaf Stando, the guy who was always on social media posting a load of absolute.
Yeah, I don't think I really object to foreigners standing
for the SNP. It does seem a little bit.
That's not right.
Seems strange indeed. Yeah, indeed. And plus, of course, guys, 3 current SNP Westminster MPs have also submitted applications, and they are Stephen Flynn, the Westminster leader, Dave Duggan in Angus and Perthshire Glens, and Stephen Gethins in Arbroath and Broughty Ferry. So they know that if they do get in, they'll have to give up Westminster. So what's wrong, boys? Not enough action for you in London? Are you missing Arbroath Smokies too much? I mean, why would you do this? I don't know.
Well, want to get more money?
Well, and will they get more money in Holyrood? They'll get more money in Westminster. They'll get more money in Holyrood if they get into government, certainly, yeah. It's a gamble, though. So, Mark, when you saw this mightily impressive lineup, what were your thoughts?
Well, like half of them, you don't even know who they are anyway, and you wouldn't care really who they were either. If they were replaced by a cardboard cutout, you know, even it wouldn't. You don't even need to put a face on it, just like a wee grey man. You put out as well, but I think it does seem like the last resort of the no hopers, doesn't it?
Yes.
The last chance saloon, and they're you've got, you know, I think where's the new people, right? Where's the talent? There's no talent. I might mention this a little bit later. There's no talent coming into this SNP. No young people who've got any standing, and I think part of that is to do with Sturgeon, of course, and Hamza Youssef not being able to groom the youngsters into the position. I think, and put effective.
I think there's enough grooming has gone on, Mark.
Yeah, I know. You're quite right.
I mean, to make a succession plan.
Succession, yes.
Yeah, the flower pot men and a bunch of weeds. I just wonder. I mean, you look at some of these. Are people going to be excited to vote for these people? in their local constituencies in the Scottish Parliament elections. I'm not entirely sure that's the case, especially with, let's just say, I know you wouldn't like this, David, but especially with newcomers like Reform, who are maybe a bit more of a shiny thing that people may well go for.
That's quite true. I mean, I do get the appeal of Reform, as I always said. It's just my only issue with them is they're not going to win constituency seats, and they're going to be in the way. One of our friends said to me tonight, one of our mutual friends said, look, we're really going to have at some stage to look at whether Reform on that very subject are now the tactical choice for anyone of a centre-right disposition, because they seem to be getting ahead of the Conservatives in the polls up here. Possibly, but I would just say let's just wait and see how polling goes as we get closer to the time, because who knows what's going to happen. Russell Finlay does seem like a plausible leader of the Conservatives, if nothing else, whereas Reform, well, they don't really have a leader in Scotland, so I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I mean, a few things going on. Of course, there's this whole, we talked about this last week, the whole Farage, Rupert Lowe thing has to settle down a little bit. I think they're going to lose quite a bit of support. Well, I would think they're going to lose support for that, but perhaps that doesn't actually materialise.
It's difficult to say. So, I think we'll talk about that another time. But yes, it's just to mention it because I was asked to what I thought about that. But anyway, well-deserved laughter at this shower aside, there is a serious point here, and that is this is just masking the fact that the SNP is just about, maybe not immediately, imminently, but a big, very bitter leadership battle is in the post. It's going to come. Okay. We know we've got the contenders. We've got Flynn, who made no secret of it. He wants the job. Forbes, I'm certain, wants the job also. And of course, you've got the we Mary McAllen, world leaders Mary McAllen. So just we know that some opening shots have been fired in this battle some time ago, 2 years ago, when when Sturgeon left, and it was Forbes against USAF with Ash Regan hanging on. Swinney at the time said about Forbes, Kate is perfectly entitled to express her views, but party members are equally entitled to decide if someone who holds those views would be an appropriate individual to be SNP leader and First Minister. Ooh. And only last week, Mary Black, more or less on the same theme, said the party would be split in two and a lot of people would leave if Kate Forbes ever became leader.
Yeah, so that seems likely.
Indeed. So, but looking at the others, Flynn has hardly missed a popularity, particularly with female MSPs and MPs after the way he treated Audrey Nicholl. Emma Roddick, the Highlands and Islands list MSP, posted a tweet about Flynn in which the first letter on every line of every word spelled the word prick at the time.
That was quite clever.
Indeed. Surprised you can spell that.
Yeah, true. But we Mary is unquestionably the Sturgeon Swinney continuity candidate. I've said for years.
So, really? It's far too young. I mean, is she at school yet?
You say that, but the thing about Mary McAllen, the one advantage she has is, unlike the others, she actually looks great. She's a very pretty lady. She's a good-looking girl.
Is that how you're going to vote for her?
No, but keep listening though. She's married to a man, right? Married to a man, and she has a baby. She's almost normal, really. Whereas you compare that with the freak show they've had up until now. Sturgeon, her private life, we all know, has just been a disaster. You've got Swinney, who just looks terrible, sounds worse, and Hamza Youssef, who's seems to be the First Minister for Gaza. She is relatively normal, at least. She is quite clever. I think she has been groomed for the job. It's probably a little bit early for her, but I think she will be the one they would try to get in. So I think that's...
I don't think there's much gravitas there, is there really?
Oh, no, not at all. Indeed not. But then again, Sturgeon she was fairly young when she got in as Deputy First Minister. And she really, she grew into the role, certainly, and she became transformed. So who knows? We don't know. But
I can't see her winning. I can see Flynn maybe getting it, and I think there's a big incentive is £180,000 salary.
Is that what you get, really, the First Minister?
That's what First Minister get, yeah.
Well,
that's a big incentive to move up from what's he doing in the UK Parliament? Well, the thing is, in the UK Parliament, doesn't he do anything?
No, true.
Right? Maybe he wants to be a bit busier and maybe think he's doing something and getting more money.
Indeed. Well, I mean, I can see this becoming very intense, very dirty. It was quite a nasty battle last time. Forbes had a bit of a dig at Hamza. Hamza completely was disparaging with Ash Regan. So yeah, the dirtier the better, as far as I'm concerned. So that is coming for sure. Just a question whether Swinney will announce before the election or after the elections, or he might announce before the election he's going to stand, but he's going to run, but he's going to stand down as leader. I don't know. Something will happen anyway. So keep watching, guys, because that's going to be good fun. For sure.
Well, yeah, that expression of the bald men fighting over a comb. This is like a whole shop full of bald men fighting over a comb. That's what it seems like.
Indeed, but not only leaders, I should have said this, the guys who are in there at the moment in Holyrood, how are they going to think when they see all these people thinking, yeah, I fancy some of that, yeah, I'm going to come up. 21 current and former MPs are thinking we'll come up to Holyrood. My God.
Well, I think that's a big thing, and I think certainly the Conservatives and Labour can hammer them on that. Just say, these are just spongers.
Yep.
Here's a big list of the spongers that are coming up, and they'll just try to take your money for what? They can't achieve independence. It's impossible. There's no chance of it ever happening. No. So what are they doing? It's just wasting your time. And grievance. Now, if you like grievance, okay, fair enough. But
and they do.
Well, I know, but voters have like that. But at a certain point, they go, well, okay. And also, we've got to see whether Labour's fortunes will improve over the next few months. Anyway. Right. Okay. Very good. Good discussion there. Thank you for your comments on that. Talked a little about T-shirts. Please do consider getting a Majority T-shirt from the Majority Shop, which is here. You can go there. You can buy all kinds of nice stuff. A nice hat. Yeah, look at this. Get a nice Majority baseball cap. Oh, look at that. Look at that fine stitching. Amazing. And this young lady is a very nice model for it. I'm not sure about this guy though. Yeah, okay, right. Well, anyway. Okay, so you can buy those from the shop, and a little bit of the money from each one does go to help us keep going. Now, if you want to do a twofer, then you can donate to the Majority Truthbot, and after we've received £20 in donations, we will send you a T-shirt. Anyway, right. We are going to go back in a few seconds. Mary's going to talk about Glasgow Drug Consumption Room. Glasgow's drug consumption room and dirty needles all over the area. So we'll see you in just a few seconds. Right, Mary, take it away.
Thanks, Mark. Will you cover my comments for me?
No, I've got to do then. All right.
Okay. Well, recently I've been watching a number of videos by Colin McGowan, who has been on the show, and he's been highlighting and complaining about issues caused by the Thistle, which is the drug consumption room in Glasgow, where addicts can inject illegally purchased heroin and cocaine. Now, Colin, he is the CEO of Hamilton Stadium and the trustee of the children's charity Blameless. They help children and families caught up in family members' cycles of addiction. So he devotes more time and money than nearly anyone trying to help addicts and their families. But he is very outspoken about his opposition to the way the Thistle Centre is being run. The claims about its £2.3 million a year cost, the impact of the centre on the local community. In particular, the dangers posed by needles and drug kits, which are just being discarded in and around the neighbouring Morrison's car park, where local families are shopping. Needles all over the area. Mark, do you have a clip from?
Yes, we do.
These new houses, the families will be actually even see not only just the drug users in this corner, they'll be able to see the needles from their windows. And this is brand new houses in Carlton. This isn't right. This is one of the kits, the Orion medical supply kits. This is a single-use kit to what's in it. I need to be very careful. Obviously, you've got the needle with the syringe. We've got the alcohol wipe in there somewhere. We've got a small spoon as well, obviously the small spoon, and you've got your absorbed acid, for mixing your stuff. So it's a whole kit really, it's a single-use kit. There's your needles. This is what's discarded absolutely everywhere, every single place you can see it. Right, now these are everywhere here, and I mean everywhere, and this is what I'm going to discuss next. This was an extra wee bit I wasn't going to do, but I got one of the kits off one of the boys there, so that's that just now. That lets you see what I'm discussing.
That's probably enough.
I dropped a piece. Here I am in the Morrison's car park, 100 yards from the gates.
Okay, so as you can see, I mean, there's needles lying around everywhere, and locals in the Carlton area have also raised their concerns with Conservative MSP Annie Wells.
Yep.
She's visited the drug consumption room and surrounding areas just to see for herself, and she says she's never seen so many used needles in one place.
I'm here in the Car Park at the Barrows. The Barrow Inn's just a couple of streets away from me, and the Thistle Centre is just behind me. And to be honest, I've never seen so many syringes and needles lying about anywhere in Glasgow. And when we take it that the Thistle Centre's just behind us, it begs belief as to why people are still coming here. What is the effectiveness of the Thistle Centre? I mean, if you look around where we are just now, I mean, there's lots of rubbish flying about, but most syringes here.
Right, so local residents say that they were never properly consulted on the plans.
Right, okay, there you go.
Right, so local residents say that they were never properly consulted on the plans, and they're worried about drug dealers lurking in the area, selling fixes to the people who are then going into the centre and injecting under supervision at the centre.
And if you watch the rest of Colin McGowan's video, he says that while he was standing there, two guys went into the bushes and were smoking crack cocaine. They'd been sold to them for £20.
Goodness. Anyway, but SNP councillor Alan Casey, who represents Denniston, and he's the city's convener for addiction issues and one of the biggest supporters of the Thistle, he says that Annie and Colin are spreading misinformation. He says the site and many others have had this issue for many years, and indeed this is why the Thistle has been located where it is. Okay, that may be so, but the bigger questions then are, why are so many drug users still choosing to inject at Morrison's and the car park in local areas when there's a beautiful dedicated centre there costing millions? What good is this centre doing?
Absolutely.
And if this has been going on for so long, why hasn't the council already got a programme in place to regularly clean up the area to protect local families and children? And what is being done to help addicts recover from their addiction rather than helping them to continue? Guys, what do you think?
I think the main thing here is like, look, this is what people warned about. Drug consumption room would attract addicts to the area, and then it would attract dealers to the area. It would attract all kinds of antisocial behaviour to the area. It would attract crime to the area. If you're a junkie and you want your fix, you've got to get money. What are you going to do? You're not going to go get on the bus and go and rob somewhere further away. You're going to rob wherever it is closer by if you can, steal what you can, shoplift, whatever, break into people's houses and so on. All this, and this is just the fact of life. This is what happens to these things. So we've got this real situation where everyone knew this would happen. And nobody's doing anything about it. In fact, they're castigating the people who are pointing it out.
Yeah.
It's really terrible. Get Colin there, actually taking a personal risk to go there. Annie Wells also taking a personal risk to go there and show this. You can stand in you can stand in a needle, or a kid can be playing there.
Well, a needle will go right up through your shoe.
Absolutely right.
It's terrible. David, do you have any thoughts on it?
Well, it's exactly as we all said. If you have a situation where you're encouraging people to continue to acquire illegal drugs by their own means, because they're not giving them the drugs there, they have to steal the money to buy the drugs first. This is absolute insanity. It's like I keep saying, what's the nurse going to say when an addict turns up? Where'd you get your drugs today? Oh, you mugged an old lady. Oh, shuggy, you're some man. Is this what really we're thinking is the way to stop people taking drugs? This is just insane. And Alan Casey is, as Grumpy said, the drummer boy. He's the guy who was pictured on an IRA commemorative march banging a drum for some guy, and now he's the poster boy for this utter insanity. And I have to ask, guys, just what is it about the SNP that wants to encourage drug sales in Scotland? I just don't get it at all. Is somebody
I don't know if it's entirely that. That's the end result. But the thing is, it's just a kind of virtue signalling, right? They think they're being good people. They've done their studies. They're middle class. They've put together a group, a Quango, that's done all this studies and says, look, we'll do this. This idea is going to work. And basically what it's doing is the usual strategy, getting headlines.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. They get headlines. Oh, we're doing something. But you're not doing the right thing. That's the problem.
Well, Anne-Marie Ward keeps banging on about this, rightly so, saying that they're so focused on harm reduction that they're not even trying to help people actually get rid of their addictions.
Absolutely right. And it keeps them trapped in the cycle of addiction. And Anne-Marie's exactly right. And you need to sort this out. I've said it before. Put Anne-Marie Ward in charge of it and listen to what she says and do what she says, seriously, because these are going to do it.
Yeah, or even people like Colin. And the
absolutely
thing is,
right.
It costs £1 million a year to run this thing. Or
whatever. It's £2.3 million.
£2.3 million. You could actually get, actually beds, for people, addicts, or places for addicts to be supervised in their recovery
and help them recover.
And then they've much less cost to society. Not to mention, the deaths and so on as well.
Yep. It failed, as it says here, it failed in Portugal. It failed in Portland, Oregon, which is one of America's great cities, and it's an absolute. Have you seen photos from Portland, Oregon, where they tried this? Of what's happened? You've got addicts everywhere shooting up in the street and stuff. This is just insane, really. But anyway, there you go.
Right. Well, I'm going to continue a little bit more. I'll leave that for now. But when it comes to my Zoomer of the week, I'll talk about this a little bit more.
Right. Okay. Well, we're fairly rattling through the show today.
Indeed.
Things you can do right now to support the show. You can buy a t-shirt or a mug. Well, I've talked about that. You can subscribe to the show on YouTube. Now, that's a good one. We need more subscribers. It would be quite handy if you watching this thought, actually, you know what? These are really great people. I'd like to follow them every week. Right? So just hit that subscribe button. It's not really a big risk. You can always unsubscribe later, and that will help us. Boost us up the algorithm. It's great. If you can't really reach to the subscribe button, hit the like button. That is great. Now, of course, you can also tell all your friends about us, and you can do all of the above, which makes us extremely happy and fulfilled, underlined exclamation mark. Coming up, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. It's the highlight of the week. It is Zoomer of the Week.
Yay.
Very good.
Yes, Zoom.
It's a recurring theme, perhaps, this one a little bit. My Zoomers of the week are the so-called Scottish Conservative journalists like Alex Massey and Stephen Daisley, who are well-known commentators on Scottish politics. Let's start with Massey. The thing is, I find that if you watch them long enough, they always seem to reveal themselves. As regular viewers will know, I have utterly reject Alex Massey's idea that independence is a noble cause. I wrote an article about it. You find it on the Majority website. There is simply nothing noble about trying to break up the UK. And today he revealed himself again. He wrote that he had just filed a column praising the SNP government and supporting some of its recent decisions. Some of you can pipe down now. It's like, well, okay. Why? Is that really your job as a Conservative commentator, to praise the SNP government? Did I miss something somewhere along the way? This is the part of that. Is that so? That's the first part. And then similarly, as if by magic, just a few hours ago, Stephen Daisley was complaining about people commenting on his article. Now, he had wrote this article about lack of talent coming into the SNP. Well, we all know why that is, really, because people with talent are not narrow-minded, greedy, grievance-ridden nationalists going to pick up the UK. That's why there's no talent. That's, you have to be a grifter who wants to go in and say, all right, you know what, I can make mugs of these people who will vote for me for a cause that I'm never going to achieve, but I'll get a good salary in the meantime. Anyway, Daisley was annoyed that he was getting flack from SNP supporters and unionists about this article. And he said, I want the SNP to get better because they run my country. Now, remember, this is one of the most well-known Conservative commentators in Scotland.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I mean, it just beggars belief to me. I don't know a single Conservative who thinks they want the SNP to get better. The only two I seem to know are Alex Massey and Stephen Daisley. Yes. I mean, these people are claiming to be Conservative commentators, but are talking about supporting the SNP. I mean, what? I just don't get it.
Maybe he's just resigned to them.
No, that's
he's
not the
point.
To them
being
your
in
job
charge.
is to fight. That's the thing. And I think if anyone did say, any Conservative does say, well, I support the SNP government, then they're not Conservatives in that case. And it's just the SNP's only reason for existence is not to run our country better. It's to break up our country. They don't need encouragement and hand-holding to do that. These people are basically our enemies. Everything they do has one goal. It's to destroy the UK's social, economic, territorial and military integrity. In my personal opinion, I think that the SNP should be banned as a security threat. And anyone supporting the breakup of the UK should be seen as a security threat as well, because especially in these times. But the thing is, they've normalised this. And the people who've normalised it are these journalists who are basically saying, oh, it's okay just to have for the SNP to be better. Now, we have many times in the show, we've talked about Kenny Farquharson and Neil, I'm Not a Nationalist Mackay, they continue to write about independence every week. This week, Kenny Farquharson was moaning that Farage made independence more likely. That seems highly unlikely. Or Mackay saying that he left Labour now. Oh, big hissy fit. He's this year one here. I'm cured of my Labour nostalgia. Now I know it's indie for me. Well, it was always indie for you. I mean, every article you've written for the past year is about indie. It's like, but so what we see is an entire class of journalists, right, who are cheerleading for the destruction of the UK. These journalists are not our friends. And when they claim to be on the same side of us, right? Farquharson says he's a pro-UK. Not at all. But what's worse is people like Daisley and Massey, who are actual Conservative commentators who are supporting the SNP government. This is wrong. And they know they're wrong because under every article, the readers are like, no, we don't like this at all. This is really not right at all. We don't want this constant indie grift that's going on from these journalists. The issue was settled in 2014. It's not going to happen again. Newspapers should stop pushing this crap on us. It's really too much for us. We've settled the issue. It's time to move on. And that's 4 articles in 1 week about independence and how the SNP is doing great. No.
They don't know how to write about anything else, I don't think.
True, actually, yeah.
They're lying to us.
They've been making money from it for so long that they don't know how to give it up.
It's really frustrating, and I think they're fake. If you're a Conservative who says you support the SNP, you should just stop writing.
Yeah, quite.
I think it's not right. Anyway.
Well, I mean, we know Daisley's got history for this. He's got previous here because you remember 4 years ago, he was absolutely fixated. He was obsessed with George Galloway. Could not stop writing about George Galloway.
Yes,
and he was scared stiff that some, or at least one All for Unity candidate would beat one of his precious, beloved Conservative candidates because he's a Conservative absolutely to his fingertips.
Well, is he though? That's the question. That's what I'm saying.
He claims to be. But you're right. He actually said during the campaign, when we were down at Largs campaigning one day, Anna Sarwar was in, he got into some stupid dance thing, and he said, well, this could be a real game changer. He was actually talking up Anna Sarwar, and I thought, this guy's got absolutely no integrity at all. And you'll remember the famous article where he said, I'm no Hamza Yousaf fan, but I'd take 129 Hamza Yousafs in Holyrood over one George Galloway. Oh, would you now? So you think he's talented then if you want 129 of them there? I mean,
yeah.
I really cannot abide Stephen Daisley. I know he's got a nice turn of phrase, but he just writes anything they'll pay him to say, and I can't.
Well, I think this is the thing. It's just this idea that they always want to appease nationalists.
Yeah,
it's not. They never take the next step and say, no, there's nothing they can do. These nationalists that can do is good. Something might be interesting. A nationalist might do. Okay, that's interesting. It's worth studying. That's a different thing from saying I support this. Right? That's an entirely different thing. Their job is not to support and be cheerleaders for the opposite side, not to give them tips. It's just not right.
Exactly. When do you ever see the Nationals saying, I really wish this Conservative government would do better because they're my government. I really want them to improve. Yeah, right. Okay.
I think it's really wrong. I've worked in news most of my life, and I've dealt with journalists before for a long time, and it's like these people, they're unscrupulous, and I think their reputation in many cases is very much deserved as a class. I think, and this just shows that these people are, they're claiming to be Conservatives, boosting the other side, and that's why they're my Zoomer of the week. Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
All right. We will be back in a second with David's Zoomer, who is, very Zoomerish, this one. Okay, so back.
Definitely a Zoomer.
Okay. So my nomination this week for Zoomer of the Week is Ramsey El Nakla. And I can hear you all asking, who? And the answer is, he's Hamza Yousaf's brother-in-law. I saw somebody on the chat referring to this earlier today. It transpires that in a Dundee court this week, El Nakla admitted driving carelessly. He failed to stop at the red light while on the school run. He ploughed through the red light and hit a stationary cyclist, if you please, a 59-year-old man whom he knocked up in the air and onto the bonnet of El Nakla's car.
Oh, really? Okay. I didn't know the details, actually.
And what's more, El Nakla also admitting another driving offence. You'll never guess what. Driving without insurance.
It runs in the family.
Right. Hamza Youssef was convicted of the very same offence. So, speaking of other offences, and I have to speak very carefully here, some of you may be thinking, hang on a sec, doesn't Hamza Youssef's brother-in-law also face other charges of a rather more serious nature?
Yes.
Because of contempt of court laws relating to a pending trial and the possibility of prejudicing a trial by mentioning other convictions, I cannot say anything further, other than I will summarise by saying that Hamza Youssef is certainly married into a family of like-minded individuals.
Sorry. Well, surely the other court case has been mentioned already in the press.
The problem is, if you're accused of an offence, it is illegal to mention any other offences of which that person may be guilty until the trial increases prejudices the trial. You've got to be very careful. That's all. It's just at that time he hadn't been presumably charged with this. So you just got to be a wee bit careful. That's all. You don't want to prejudice the trial, of course. So Hamza clearly has a like-minded brother-in-law. What a lucky guy he is for that, and that's why Ramsey El Nakla is my Zoomer baby.
I wonder if they drug tested him.
I wonder if they did. Yes.
Well, that's possible as well.
On the school run and running into somebody, hitting them onto the bonnet of a car.
Well, yeah. It's a
stationary cyclist.
One of the things that was interesting, I thought, was that he receives £1,400 a month on universal credit and disability payments, and needs a car to help with the family. Now, we all know that there's a big discussion going on right now about Motability and people scamming. I'm not saying that he's one of the scammers, but it seems there are an awful lot of people who are claiming to be disabled and not actually disabled as well. It'll be quite interesting to see what the disability is. That's the thing is, but 1,400 in that, and but perhaps I don't know if he's got a second income or not.
Who knows?
But
anyway. He's got a hobby.
Yes, perhaps. Okay, very interesting there. Let's see. He lost his mobile phone on holiday and was unaware his insurance policy had been cancelled. All right, so he's going on holidays as well.
Yep.
Okay, and he's on benefits and he's 1,400.
And I bet he's shouting loud about losing his disability benefit because of the Labour Party, the Labour government, So anyway, there you go.
Right. The complainer sustained a small cut to the finger in his right hand and minor pain in his back.
Isn't that a shame?
Who knows what else he'll get up to?
Indeed.
Oh yeah, I was on holiday in Ireland here. According to this, I'm reading the article. Right. Okay. Okay. Mary's going to be back in a second with her winning entry.
Of course.
Perhaps. I'll do the captions, etc. for you. Okay. Back in a second.
Okay, so I am going to continue to highlight the absurdity of Glasgow's safe drug consumption room. My nomination for Zoomer of the Week is Alan Casey, the same guy, the councillor I spoke about earlier, calling locals' concerns about needles and drug pushers misinformation. So he is also pushing the SNP to relax the law for indoor smoking ban at the centre to allow drug addicts to smoke and snort cocaine and heroin there. So he wants to extend the menu of what's available there.
Is that in case they pick up a dirty cigarette? What a load of rubbish. Have you ever heard anything like this?
Currently, the only way to consume drugs legally at the centre is to inject them, but he wants to set up an inhalation space there. So all other Scots have been banned from smoking in pubs and restaurants since 2006.
Right.
You can't smoke a cigarette in any public place indoors, but you can go to the Thistle Centre and smoke crack or heroin.
Surely this means that we can go to pubs and snort cocaine.
Why not? Just designate it.
Well, yeah. Well, we could just go to the Thistle Centre, couldn't we?
Just say a pub is a safe consumption room.
Yeah.
Right. That's it. Or a club is a safe consumption
It just gets more and more. I mean, this is what happens when they start with something, right? And then you say, okay, so where does it go from there?
Right.
So this is where it's going. We've now got them smoking crack and heroin. Well, he would like them to anyway. So the centre was supposed to prevent overdose deaths, but only 143 of Glasgow's 18,000 problem drug users have actually used it.
So 143?
143 out of the 18,000 problem drug users have used Dissenter. It's costing us £2.3 million a year. Yeah. Do you not know that?
No, I didn't know that.
I reported on this before.
The uptake is not huge, I'd have to say.
No. They're all just sitting around at the Morrison's car park and everywhere else in the area, injecting drugs outside of it. But only 143 have actually gone in.
Yeah, they know it's a place nearby.
Yeah, quite.
In the car park behind it, you can get some drugs.
Yeah, only 143 have actually gone in. Right. But regardless of this, Alan Casey is trying to get more drug consumption rooms opened up across Scotland. So he isn't helping anyone to get help with their addiction. No. He's helping them continue their addiction.
Yep. They might not pick up HIV or whatever you get by sharing a needle or whatever illnesses you get from using a dirty needle, for example. But that's the reason for the whole raison d'etre for this place. But that doesn't apply to cigarettes. You don't get a disease from rolling your own cigarette. So you don't need a safe consumption to smoke a cigarette, do you? The whole point is you can get diseases by injecting this stuff. And go to somewhere safe where you've got a clean needle.
If you inject
you don't need a clean bloody roll up. I mean, what?
Yeah, and I mean, it's, if you do not speaking from personal experience or anything, but what I've seen in the TV, if you take some cocaine or whatever, then it's unlikely you're going to die of that as well, is it? Right? I mean, do you really need a safe consumption room to do it?
If you inject cocaine, maybe, but not snorting it or smoking it.
Maybe if they're injecting it.
Well, they're smoking crack.
But I mean, that's the same thing. Do you need a safe consumption room to smoke crack?
Well, no, because they're all doing it outside. They're all doing it round about the Morrisons and all the local area.
It's going to attract users, isn't it? That's the point. Not necessarily to go in. They will. A lot of people will not want to go in to let the authorities know that they take this stuff. So they'll just go nearby, knowing that drug dealers will be on the premises.
Well, like-minded people. You make friends in the local area.
They're
not going into the centre.
I know where to go, actually. If I'm ever feeling like some, crack cocaine, I know exactly where to go. Everyone in Glasgow knows exactly where to go now, right?
This is the classic SNP whack-a-mole. You think, okay, if we maybe let people take heroin in safe places, then this issue of getting ill through using dirty needles would go away. But what about the 12 other issues that arise from doing it? And this is exactly what their policy is. Literally whack-a-mole. As one thing goes down, 8 others spring up every single time. It's just absurd, really ridiculous, not good enough.
Right, well, Mary, it's a very strong candidate, I have to say, but it's up to David to decide.
Right, okay, well, it's not going to be Hamza's brother-in-law, because I just did that for a bit of a joke, to be honest. The press, I quite like Alex Massey, I think he writes sensible stuff, but every so often he throws in one of these little lines, which he doesn't need to. Daisley, you know what I think about Daisley. So no.
Yeah.
Don't like
it's not really that Zoomerish, though, is it?
Exactly, so there's only one strong contender this week who wins easily, and that is the man who's encouraging more and more people to take drugs. No, thank you. Alan Casey, Zoomer.
Yeah.
Well, Mary,
it's actually sad.
Going to get that one right.
Yeah.
Well, it's true. We can have a bit of a laugh about it, but this is sad because people are actually dying in the streets because of this as well.
Yep.
Because
they're not taking the right steps.
They're not being helped.
Spending money and doing something, but they're not doing the right thing.
And it's not just, of course, the addicts. So it's the thing that Anne-Marie Ward and also Colin McGowan are very much into is supporting the families of the addicts and the family. How devastating it is for these people who they're not to blame for the situation. I mean, some people will say the addicts aren't to blame either. It's a disease, fair enough.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's they're not. They're caught up in this as well. And what is the Scottish government doing to actually help them? It's not actually doing anything at all. It's appropriate, really, as well. I think that's it's Zoomerish, but there is a serious issue behind it as well. Right. Okay. Good win there, Mary. We're so happy to have you all with us on the show every week in Scotland's #1 politics chat. We will see you again, same time and same place next Wednesday. The thought for the week is going to be a variation on one of the classics. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing and for journalists to tell lies to their readers. I did that wee bit in. So thank you for all your support for the show. Please do donate if you can to the Truth Bot and get a free t-shirt. It's great. Thank you for all your comments. It's been really great to see them today. Huge thank you to David for his insights.
My great pleasure as always, everyone. Thanks for all the contributions. Very, very, it's fascinating to see what people think about what we say. I love it, really.
Yes, thank you, Alan, for your all your comments as well, and Paul, and everyone else. So
thanks, everyone. Thanks for the comments.
And thank you to Mary for dealing with handling all of them as well. We will see you again next week for more astonishing tales of SNP incompetence and
Scotland.
National's grievance.
Indeed.
So until then, have a good week and take care.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.